Since the 1990s, childhood obesity has increased dramatically, and along with the increase in other obesity related, cardiovascular related diseases like heart attacks, heart disease, and stroke, this also perfectly aligns with the increase in sugar and trans fats in our diets. Now, I've talked a lot about sugar in our diets in the past videos, and I recommend checking them out after this one, but I've not really talked about trans fats all that much, and I might do that in future videos, which you can see if you subscribe. And I also want to ask us the question, how exactly has this happened? And this refers to the childhood obesity pandemic and epidemic that is kind of rocking our world. And one reason I think is because children are genetically different. We all have different DNA. We all have different hair colors, heights, eye colors, um, eyebrow colors, teeth colors, skin colors, whatever. We all have like different facial shapes or whatever. We all have different internal kind of functions, yet we're all still treated the same, especially inside of schools. Now, when you're at home, you have probably like unique and different meals to everyone else that's your age and like around you and stuff like that. But at school, you will kind of get fed the same thing. You will get fed the same amount of meals, same portion sizes, same amount of sugary snacks, juice, milk cartons, and some kids are going to be able to gain weight a lot more easily because they have different genetics and slow metabolisms. They're going to gain weight just because they eat like some of the sugary snacks and some of the bigger portion sizes. And along with the fact that these kids may just not be sporty, they may not be like built for sport. And this is a lot of like an excuse that a lot of fat people had back when I remember I was doing primary and secondary school. They thought and they had the mindset that they just weren't built for sports. And that obviously leads to a compounding increase in weight gain over time. And even once this obesity is noticed in like primary and secondary school, nothing changes. We're all still treated the same and given the same kind of meals. We all still have the like roast dinners and the sugary snacks and the puddings. And it's quite sad that these 5-year-olds and these 12-year-olds are becoming more obese just because they have the same amount of stuff as someone with a fast metabolism, someone like me, who, even though it is unhealthy for me, I used to eat a lot of sugary snacks and stuff like that because like I never gained weight and thought I could kind of get away with it and stuff like that. But obviously it still had a harmful effect on my body. But these 5-year-olds and these 12-year-olds, they just don't quite understand, and they're quite naive and impressionable, and they don't really know what's going on inside their bodies. They don't really understand the effect that obesity and fatness has on them, because the lifespan and longevity of these 5 to 12-year-old children is going to be severely hampered and severely decreased by this, like their obesity and their fatness. Because when they get into these like sugar eating and binge eating habits at like such a young age, at like 5 and 6, from sugary snacks from maybe schools or from their like household cupboards and stuff like that, it has such a compounding effect, which becomes much more impactful when it started at a young age compared to if someone starts gaining weight after they get out of college or university when they're like 20 or 30 or whatever. But if they're doing this stuff at like 5 years old, they're going to have a severe lack of life in general if they carry on going along this path, and they'll end up not really being able to live functionally at ages of like 30 and 40. And that's quite a sad thing because obviously they don't understand the effect that this stuff has on their bodies, as I said before. They don't really watch self-improvement content because they're probably more exposed to like immature sort of stuff like video games. They probably all play video games, watch kind of video game content on YouTube. They haven't really discovered things about their health and sports and like going to the gym and stuff like that. And because of this struggle to like reach people and reach like 5 to 12-year-olds with this positive message, we almost have to kind of destroy the source, and the source is food companies. Now, it's tough to destroy the source in this situation because the government and like the food companies and stuff, they're all quite big things, and it's tough to influence these things, and we don't really want to have to rely on things like the government to help us and like make a change. We want to kind of do those things ourselves because they're important to us. But the fact is, food companies market their food so effectively, and it just infiltrates the minds of these young 5 to 12-year-olds. I mean, when you look at the kind of corner shops, right, they have their sweets right next to the counter, so when you've got your like stuff that you were going to get for your lunch or whatever, you may take an extra chocolate bar or packet of Haribos because they're right next to the counter and you might as well take them because you've got some spare change or whatever. These are the kind of tactics that food companies and shops use so that you buy more stuff and therefore make them more profit, because food in the market industry nowadays is more about profit than actual nutrition. And that is quite a sad reality that personally I want to change, and I have big visions to change that in the future. And the fact is, while they also market sugary snacks and unhealthy processed things, they also put sugar in normal foods to make you buy it subconsciously again and again and again and again. For instance, baked beans. Baked beans in the UK, everyone's probably had baked beans at least once in their life. It's almost like a delicacy here. And I know that sounds quite cheesy and cringe or whatever, but if you're watching this and you're in the UK, you probably know what baked beans are, right? And you'd be astounded at the amount of sugar that is in baked beans, specifically the sauce of baked beans. And 20 grams of sugar are in one can of baked beans. And you know what 20 grams of sugar is equivalent to? 5 cubes of sugar. You've probably seen the like sugar cubes on the little restaurant things that people kind of put in their teas and stuff like that. That is 5 sugar cubes in one single can of baked beans, and that is only really the sauce. The beans themselves, I think they're called haricot beans, that are things that are in baked beans, and they're not, they don't contain that much sugar. The sauce itself is so sugary and processed that it makes like the parents of these children buy it again and again and again because they are subconsciously hooked, and the children probably ask for it in the shopping because they are subconsciously hooked, and they are at the mercy. These poor impressionable children who are naive are at the mercy of big food companies who want to like make a profit rather than like make people healthier and more nutritious. And that's quite a sad reality that I hope in the future to change. And if you want to help me change that and change that yourself, then I recommend subscribing, because I'll be making so many more kind of diet related videos in the future and so many other things self improvement related. So I recommend sticking around for that. And good luck.